everybody, Pat Huntoon here from Technique Junkies, and today I'm going to show you how to use the Colorful Life Designs Marvelous Masks. And these Marvelous Masks have 8 pieces in them. There's 4 stencils in graduated sizes, and then 4 matching inserts for $14.99. So you're getting 8 pieces here. So today I'm going to be using 2 of these 8 pieces. I'm going to be using the second for the largest on these, and some Technique Junkie stamps, 821 Pine Cone, 1037 Pine Bow, and SDX 176 Merry Christmas. And this is all going to be in a kit that I'll show you at the end. And then I'm going to be using the regular rectangles, and then I'm going to be using the ornaments. So I hope you enjoy this video. It's a little longer than normal for me, but I think you'll enjoy it anyways. Okay, so we're starting with the decal. And I am actually using, to start, a piece of 80-pound cardstock that is cement colored. A cement colored piece of 80-pound cardstock I just took from my stock. It's just a tan piece. And what I'm going to do is work in my MISTI for a couple of reasons. First of all, I like how the magnets hold the masks down. And second, I'm going to be stamping, so we want to do that. So I'm just going to drop this in here to start. And I am going to put the second to largest deckled rectangle over the top and match it up. Center it the best I can on this cardstock, and then I'm going to drop the magnets on there. Okay, so we're starting here, and then what I'm going to do is place the pine bow down, centered the best I can, and a little bit up where I believe I want it, and the dotted Merry Christmas. So this dotted Merry Christmas is a very fine font. Can you see how fine that is? It's very fine. So in order not to get that smudgy, I'm actually going to trick this. I'm going to use a different ink for this than I would use, that I'm going to use for the pine, which I want to be very full. So I'm going to use a little StazOn on this. And I like StazOn because the pads are a little drier, so I'm not getting a whole lot of ink pooled inside that particular stamp. And I'm just going to stamp that lightly with my fingers. I'm not pressing very hard. I'm going to press hard enough that I get the ink to transfer, but I don't want it so hard. There we go. See that? So it's nice and fine. We keep that fine look. And then with this, I am going to use VersaFine Onyx Black. I really love these VersaFine inks. I think they're very strong in color. This is not included in your kit. I don't include black inks usually, just because, unless it's an oxide, just because I believe that most people have black inks. So I'm going to tap that gently on there and stamp that, and try not to really press on the Merry Christmas. Okay, so that's nice and deep. And I'm actually going to leave those stamps in there because I can go back after I'm done coloring and ink it again and give it a nice deep depth look. So you can color these however you want to color them, whatever coloring tools you are comfortable with. I actually prefer to use colored pencils on these. So I'm going to color this. I'll speed it up for you so you don't have to watch. I'm going to dry the ink quick and then color it and come back to you. Okay, so now that's nice and colored. And again, I am leaving it in the same spot in here because after I add the ink, I may want to put more, after I add the blended ink, I may want to add more black just to give it more definition. So I'm starting with walnut stain and a blending brush. I'm just going to take this walnut stain, I'm going to rub some ink onto there, and then I'm going to start off the edge. And whenever you're starting to add ink like that, it's always better to go off the edge and push the ink onto the paper. Okay, I just moved that, but that's no big deal. We'll just move it back into spot. My fat hands here. I want to make sure I line up those edges nicely. So I want to start off and move on because I don't want to get the bristly look on here. I want this to be beautifully blended. In order to do this, you need to start off the edge. The last thing I want to do is create this, where you have those little bristly things, because those can be kind of hard to blend sometimes. So you want to avoid that wherever you can. And I'm starting with just this color of walnut, and I'm going to blend some other lighter colors in. I'm starting with my darkest color this time out because that's the color I want around the outside edge. If you don't have a MISTI, what you can do is tape it down with easy peel tape, or a tape that has low tack adhesive, or you can even use pixie spray. Okay, you can use any of those things to hold down your masks and or your stencils onto your paper. So I want to get a nice edge along here. I actually think sometimes the tape holds it down, and definitely the pixie spray holds it down better than putting it in my MISTI. But I found with my top layer here, I really do like to have the ability to overstamp it after I color it. So the best way I found to do that was to keep it in my MISTI. But you do not need a MISTI in order to do this project, okay? So I'm going to start with the walnut stain, and I'm going to wipe off my ink somewhat on my nice clean cloth here. You can also use a baby wipe. This is just a more ecologically friendly way to do it. And then I'm going to use frayed burlap, okay? So this is frayed burlap Distress Oxide. I'm going to rub that same brush right over the top again. I'm working darkest to lightest. And this, I'm going to start at the edge and work my way in. And then what I'm going to be using is antique linen. And Distress Oxides are really quite a different animal than regular distress inks, especially when it comes to the lighter ones. And this is quickly becoming one of my favorites, this antique linen, because it adds a level of brightness to this that is kind of cool. So I'm going to wipe this off really well. If you have a second brush, you can use a second brush, but since the kit only comes with one, I thought I'd show you what to do with it. Then I'm going to take the antique linen, because this is how it is, and this is a nice new juicy pad. I'm literally, move that back into place because we definitely don't want this on the outside. I am literally going to go direct paper on this. So nice juicy, I'm going to make blotches. I know it's kind of weird, right? I don't do that with anything else, but I do it with this, but you'll see why and what happens with it. And I also have some around the edges that I may pick up with a brush. So I'm just going to do circular motions and work that in. You see how that added a lightness to it? It just adds this swath of white. I don't know how else to put it. So I'm going to go over that even where I colored. I'm going to go over that whole thing. And that is pretty much colored. You see how it just blended right in doing it that way? And because I went over this part of the pine cone, I'm just going to put a little bit more VersaFine. I may leave that Merry Christmas the way it is, but I'm just going to use the VersaFine back over the pine. Got the definition right back into that pine cone. Actually, it's quite pretty. So we're going to pull this mask off and wash it off for the next use. And see how we have one complete layer, but see how overstamping that, didn't that make a huge difference in how that looks? I just love the way that looks. I could have left this in my MISTI and just use the magnet on top of this, but I have sprayed this one with pixie spray, so it's a little tacky. And I'm just going to place this over the top. I'm going to match this up the best I can. Oh, look at that, matches perfectly. It's been sprayed on the correct side. And just press that down. And now I'm going to use the 821 pine cone. And what I have actually done is I have mounted it onto an acrylic cloth. I find using a stamp positioner just takes too much darn time to do in this particular thing because I want to work rapidly. So I'm going to put some pine cone around this. I'm not going to worry about overlapping that mask because I'm going to keep that strong edge of the mask. And I'm just going to put this in several places. just want to get the idea of the pine on there. And let's remove that mask. And there is my piece. You see how it has, it's got such beautiful dimension where the outline of the mask was, and then you have the background. And then when this is matted, I'm going to mat this on this very dark piece of green. It's like almost a gray green. And it's just going to pop for you. So you'll see that. I think you probably saw it at the beginning, and you'll see it at the end again. So that is the first piece. Hi everybody, Pat Huntoon here, back with Technique Junkies, and I'm going to show you the second card using Marvelous Mask Rectangles. Again, 4 rectangles, 4 inner rectangles, so there's 8 pieces there, a mask and a stencil. And we are going to be using the SO99 poinsettia set of 4 for this one, poinsettia. So we're using these 3 pieces here, and we're using abandoned coral, crackling campfire, tattered rose, and worn lipstick. Okay, so what I've done already is I've taken the liberty of putting pixie spray on the back of this. So I'm going to line this up on the card as close to being right in the center as I can. Okay, and I could do this in my Misty right now. I could take my Misty and ink blend from there, but I want to show you another way. I am using double-sided tape here. This is a very low-tack double-sided tape. I'm putting it on my cardstock, and I'm just going to put it down right on my workstation. And one of the reasons I like to do this is because I think this mat really helps the ink move. And we're using 2 colors to start. We're using Crackling Campfire and Abandoned Coral. And these are going to be on the outside. I'm going to add some of the other colors to the outside also, but this is what we're starting with. So I'm going to start with the Crackling Campfire, which might seem a little weird with poinsettias because it's very orange. But I love this color. So we're going to start with this color. I'm going to go to Abandoned Coral. So with the Abandoned Coral, I want to wipe this off just a little bit. And I'm overlapping these colors a bit, mixing them together. Because my poinsettia isn't going to be deep dark red. I'm going to have more pinky poinsettias, which I really love the pink ones. So we're going to do a pinkish poinsettia. I left plenty of space there. I'm going to wipe off my brush one more time. I'm going to go to the worn lipstick. That's the last color I'm going to use on the outside here. Okay, so now I'm going to take that same Crackling Campfire and just go on the outer edges. Now I still have the mask down. I'm going to take the largest poinsettia. All right, and when I have that stamped, I'm going to pull this mask off, and you can see we have a nice pristine center, and that is where I'm going to do some stamping. And this time I'm going to be using my stamp positioner, and don't be afraid to use a little tape on there too if you feel that you want to hold the card down. Yes, we are going to be using the magnets on the mask, but I just like to be a little more secure there. So we're just going to hold that down and then put the mask, the stencil over the top. So this is going to go over the top here into the rectangle. And I'm going to ink this one first. So I'm going to be using the 2 remaining colors, the worn lipstick, and this I'm going to be using extremely sparingly. So I want to make sure I have a nice clean brush, the leftover color from the other ones because they're so much deeper. So the worn lipstick. And I just want to put this gently around the edge here. And then the tattered rose, same thing. And again, I'm going to wipe my brush off. the 3 down. I'm going to do the warmest holiday wishes at the bottom. And I'm just going to let that T hang off a little bit. And then this at the top. You notice I'm hanging it over the edge. That's perfectly fine. So I have all 3 of these on here. And I'm just going to check the placement. Okay, make sure when you stamp that your outer edges are stamped. And now, because I am a mess, I'm going to remove this quick. Oh, look at that. You can already see how beautiful this is going to be. The reason I'm removing this, I'm going to put this back down again just for my own security there, but I want to remove all the ink from here. Probably leave it off, but it will give me a nice crisp edge if I leave it on. Just color. Now we just take this off. And there we go. So this is 1 layer. Again, if you're going to use Copic markers, you want to make this 2 layers. But that is the second card. Now, that is a lot of coloring. If you don't like to color that much, stamp it less. Okay, this is stamped more, this is stamped less, but that is how you make the second card. On to the third. This is Pat Huntoon here with the final installment of the Marvelous Mask tutorials. And today, right now, we're working with the Marvelous Mask ornament, 4 stencils plus 4 masks. So you can see there are ornaments in 4 different sizes. Plus you get the circle portion of the mask on this one. So this is a really cool one during the Christmas holidays because it makes some really neat stuff. So let me show you how this one is done. So I am starting with a piece of Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock. I could do this on 1 sheet, but I really want to layer this one. I think it's going to be really pretty layered, bottom layers. So I am using the 3 smallest stencil, leaving the biggest stencil inside, stencil and masks. So that's what these 3 are, and I need all these pieces for this one. And I'm going to do masking. I also have this time around some masking tape because I'm actually going to tape things down this time rather than using the MISTI. So, or stamping positioner. So what I'm going to do is take my cardstock. I'm just going to take a couple pieces of tape here just to hold this down. This tape is purple tape. It's really quite a good tape. It holds things firmly, yet it lifts off without lifting off the paper. So now we're ready to start. So it's turned so that it's easier for me to work on. I'm sorry if that makes some of you a little crazy with OCD. So whenever you do a mask, whatever you want on the top has to be the piece you do first. So we are going to be doing the smallest one first because that's the Christmas ball that I would like. So that I would like on top. So I'm going to position this where I would like this one. And I'm just gonna, I could use pixie spray on this, but you can also use tape. So pixie spray is just fine to do with this, and I actually think I'll use pixie spray on the masks themselves maybe. So I have the stencil down, and I'm gonna do a couple of things. First off, I have several different colors of Distress Oxide inks here. And this time, for this one, I'm going to use Broken China. So I'm going to use some Broken China. I'm going to grab my brush, rub it around on top. And again, when you add ink to these, you want to start on the stencil and work your way off. Because I want to get a good distinct line here without having those brush stroke lines. Broken China is such a pretty blue. So I'm just going to go around in a circle there. Going to get that edge there. And I'm leaving the middle, if you notice, I'm leaving the middle pretty much untouched. I could go over it a tiny bit, but the idea with the middle is that's where light would hit it, and it gives it a little bit more of a dimensional look. Darker on the outsides, lighter on the inside is the idea there. And I want to make sure I get up by where the ornament holder is. So I'm just going to mask that off for a second. Just want to get there. Get that going good there. Now, because this is an ornament and most ornaments are kind of decorated, what I'm going to do is use the SS098 Snowflakes set of 9. So you can see all the snowflakes and some really great sayings there. But we're going to use these snowflakes here for this particular tutorial. So I'm taking my snowflake, and one of the reasons I adore Distress Oxides is because you can use another color, a lighter color like this, pumice stone, and layer over what I've already done. So I'm going to take this snowflake, I'm going to ink it, and leaving the mask on, I'm going to give it a couple of pretty little shots there. It almost gives it a silvery look. So I'm doing it 3 times, going off the edge. You can see, and hopefully you can see that. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. You can see how that really adds quite a bit to that snowflake. So I'm going to back out here. Now I'm going to peel this off. And then I'm going to take this piece off of the ornament holder. And I'm going to move that down so that it's touching the ornament. And again, I'm using that pumice stone with the brush and just getting the holder there. So this brush I'm using right now, this is a rose gold brush that I was selling for a while, but this same size brush comes in our blending brushes set of 10. So little brushes can really be your friend in situations like this. So I couldn't help myself. I just think that's such a pretty little brush. Okay, so now I'm going to move that, and you can see the ornament is perfect. I'm not going to move this. So let's mask that off. So I need to do 2 sets of masking here because I have to make sure that my ornament holder is masked, because I don't want to go over that. I don't think I'm going to get anywhere near that, but we like to mask it anyways. All right, let's put this one down. So that's been pixie spray. That's going to hold nice and firm. Look at that. It's nice and firm. So now I'm going to use the next size up, because that's what I want. Because this is the size I want up next. I'm going to move that over just a little bit. And again, I'm going to tape this down. Take this off. And I'm going to, now you can't see it, but the mask is there. So everywhere we work there will be covered. And let's use the Mermaid Lagoon, which is this Distress Oxide Mermaid Lagoon. And my brush here. Rub it on there nice and get some good color on there. And again, start off the edge, work my way in, take my time. And I have a tendency to do this naturally, and let me explain. I use a heavier touch around the outside and really lighten up on that brush. Even though I have my finger on here to control the pressure, it's a very light touch towards the center. Okay, so that is the Mermaid Lagoon. Doesn't that make a beautiful ornament? And with this one, we are going to use this snowflake and pumice stone again. And we want some to come off there. So I want to make sure I give that a good heavy hand, and here, and here. And when you're doing these, make sure you press very firmly, because when you come to the edge there, you want to make sure that it takes the ink on the edge so it doesn't look like it just fades away. Otherwise, you don't get the effect. Okay, so those are those three. And let's take this mask off. And let's do the, let's take the stencil off. And then let's do the ornament holder. Now, I could do the ornament holder while they're in place, but it leaves a little gap, and I really like them tight and close up. So that's why I do it this way. So I'm just going to do that in the pumice stone. So there's the second ornament. I'll zoom in on that so you can see that. It's so pretty. It really looks dimensional. Okay, so we're going to back off there. Now, when I remove that mask, you're going to see how beautiful that is. So I have this mask pixie sprayed, and I'm actually going to put this mask over that mask. And I'm not going to bother to mask off that ornament holder because I'm not going to get anywhere near it. So now I have two masks down. And now I'm going to take the largest stencil, which is here, and I am going to put this one down. So I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to speed this up a little bit for you so you don't have to watch me do the exact same thing again. Okay, so let's do the reveal on this. So we take all this off, take this off, take the masks off. It's almost hard to see that there's even masks on here. This is so perfect, it almost looks like a mask, doesn't it? So we'll lift that. So that is how you use the Marvelous Mask ornaments to create the ornaments. So I'm just going to wipe this down real quick, and I think for this last piece, because I would hate I would hate for this to be the final thing that I do wrong here, is I'm going to put my piece into the MISTI. And the kit that I have put together for you includes a stamp that hasn't been released yet. This Merry Christmas stamp. It kind of has a vintage vibe to it. It is included in the kit. It's the only way that you can get this stamp. So I'm going to, perfect. Look at that, isn't that cute? Now what I like about these ornaments, you could do a few things. I could put pine bows up here so that they're hanging from pine. But this time, I think to finish this card off, I'm going to add tiny little bows that I struggled with making, and either put them up here, which is quite adorable on the three of them, or put them down here, but I think they're going to go up here on these, and maybe even a little smaller. I'm going to make these bows. So I'm sure you saw the card and the finished card in the beginning of the tutorial. So that's the end of the tutorial on making Marvelous Masks, using Marvelous Masks. So as you can see, you have quite a bit of variety and quite a bit of things that you can do. And there are kits for all three of these tutorials, the Deckled Rectangle, the Rectangle, and the ornaments. I do have other ones in stock also, Christmas trees, stars, ghosts, you name it. I have them in stock. I really love these Marvelous Mask stencil packs. So I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give me a thumbs up on YouTube, and consider subscribing to my channel, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching today.